like how this feels. RSVP, NBA Finals, first episode.
First podcast.
Hey, I'm one of your hosts. My name is Jonah Francis. And I'm here with my other host.
My name is Ronnie Jean.
All right. So Ronnie, first episode.
Yeah, let's show the world where we go, what we got, what we know.
So, why are you able to talk about basketball, man?
This is my third decade watching basketball. I done seen some of the best. I'm not an NBA analyst.
Nope.
Can't say I'm an NBA expert, but I'm an NBA fan expert.
Yeah.
Knowledgeable.
Yeah, very much so. And that's what this podcast is all about. We're not experts, so we're not here to give you the politically correct answer. We're here to give it to you straight. We have no affiliates, so we can keep this as raw and uncut as possible. We have put a lot into watching these games and doing our work outside.
Dope.
So RSVP. Please, people, don't forget to RSVP, subscribe to our channel. Right off the rip, let's get into some facts. So, as we look towards the finals, Miami versus San Antonio for the second consecutive year, seemed to be the first team since the Chicago Bulls versus the Utah Jazz in '98 and also the '97 season to do that back-to-back. Before we give our predictions on exactly what team we think is going to win the finals, what I want to know is how you feel about the conference finals. Namely the Pacers and what seems to be the biggest collapse we've seen.
Indiana really didn't. They fell short. Can't really say it was a talent. Paul George wasn't the superstar that we all, pushed him to be just yet. He still has another year or two of growing. But immaturity.
Clearly, was Miami clearly the better team?
Yeah, clearly.
Night and day?
Night and day. Miami has an extra gear or two that they could go to that Indiana can't.
Right off that topic, do you remember the quote from Vogel? Basically saying Miami had a championship level that it can go up to.
Right.
That's so love to the champs, but at the same time, throwing a lot of shade on your team. These guys didn't have what it takes for whatever the reasons, and maybe even talent. I've never seen a big man like Hibbert before.
This big deal about Hibbert. If you go through his career, he's never been Shaq, Tim Duncan, Patrick Ewing. He's never been one of those big guys. So he's a center of today's age, meaning he'll give you 15 points on a good night. Mm-hmm. On a great night, he'll give you 20-something. But on average, he's giving you around 10 points.
But that's the problem with today's NBA, Ronnie. They're trying to make players out to be who they're not.
Right.
And Hibbert's a fine example of that. This guy does what he can do on the court. But when you're going up against the defending champions, and quite honestly, they have three superstars, not two. Not just LeBron and Wade. They have three. And Chris Bosh, who proved to be a pivotal player in this series.
Chris Bosh always steps it up. Every year.
Time and time again.
Every year there's a point in the season where they get on Chris Bosh, where the media, Chris Bosh is not playing. He's not the big three. It's the big two. Or all of that since day one. But everybody knew coming in Chris Bosh was going to be the one to have to fall back. Not because he can't, because he doesn't have to. When he needs to or when they need him to, he'll give you points. He always makes a big defensive play. Always hits a clutch shot. He's there when they need him.
So check this out. You remember this conversation when we said it was over before the games even started as far as Miami versus Indiana.
One would argue Indiana's not yet an A team. Surely looked like it beginning of the season, first half, early on during that push, long off season on their mind, how they lost Game 7, came out with the intensity, came out with a clear purpose. But, you have to be able to do it night in, night out.
The thing that I see with the Miami Heat team, and not to take anything away from the Pacers, they made it to the conference finals for a second straight year.
Right.
They're a young team. What else do you really expect? My point to all of this is, when you're playing against someone that is good,
you can't do all the things that you were doing to the other team. It's just, oh, damn. Now I need to play hard. I got to actually try. Okay, then. Let's try.
That's Miami's mentality. You've seen it with a bunch of great teams. Well, back in the day, Shaq and Kobe struggling coming into the playoffs, rip out and sweep all 3 rounds in the Western Conference and lose 1 game in the playoffs. That's the switch that the media be talking about. That switch where you could turn it on. A lot of people try to say the switch is not real.
That switch is real. It's really just so amazing. Sitting back and watching some of these games that Miami's playing, and as great as LeBron plays, it's so interesting to watch Dwayne Wade just take a step back and affect the game in so many different ways that aren't necessarily registered statistically.
Right. Dwayne Wade's a superstar. Hall of Fame player gonna be. Quietly, has 3 rings, 3rd best shooting guard ever.
All time.
He knows he's at the point of his career where LeBron is the best player, no doubt. But he does what he has to do, no more, no less. You need a big game or there's some kind of threat that Miami's facing, Dwayne Wade will be the first to step up. No problem.
No problem at all. So, being that Dwayne Wade is clearly a superstar, there's no other team in this league with a second to Dwayne Wade's caliber. I mean, OKC's probably the closest in the league. There's just something about Wade. He's not doing it athletically like he was in the past, but he's always doing something.
That's what you call a player figuring out the game. He's figured out the game, like. Back to your point where you're playing against 5th graders or, lower competition, you could win. It's not up to them. No matter what they do, no matter how much confidence they have, you could win. Dwayne Wade knows he could beat his player. He could defend his player. He is, next to LeBron, the 2nd best player on the court most nights.
Yeah. Yeah. So, on this topic of superstars, I know you said Paul George isn't a superstar yet, but that's where I would like to kind of transition this right now. Paul George is not a superstar. I've never seen superstardom work to the level and the flavor that I see it for Paul George. A superstar doesn't get open shots. A superstar creates more than Paul George creates, if not for themselves, for their teammates. PG is had a lot of open looks night in and night out. Paul George is not a superstar. A great 2-way player? Yeah.
Yeah, Paul George has to be careful.
Superstar, sorry.
Yeah, he has to be careful. He's at the, I give him a little bit of a pass because, every great player has to go through these first couple of rough years before they figure out
Michael, Kobe, LeBron, so on and so forth.
Durant, all of these players have to go through it. So he's still young, relatively short time in the league, so he has time. By no means is he near done, but he has to be careful. He's at the point where he could really become the superstar on his team, or he could be better served as a Scottie Pippen on his team. Right.
I look at him as a great player that can do what he needs to do and occasionally more.
Right. And by no means is that a shot at Scottie Pippen.
When it's occasionally, you can be a Scottie Pippen, but you need to know you are a Scottie Pippen.
Right.
When it's night in and night out, that's what separates Scottie from Michael.
Right.
That's what separates it. So Paul George being Kobe 4 years into the league, okay.
Because Kobe, around that time, Shaq was the man. Kobe had a way. He was a great second banana, the second guy. He initiated the offense. He was still the clutch performer down at, fourth quarter, game winning down. Kobe had it in him to be the alpha male, the guy.
I don't see that with George.
That's where he's transitioning. He looks up to Kobe. He wears number 24. He's in that transition period. He has to clearly define and clearly know in his mind what he could be and what he deserves to be and what he wants to be.
Okay. But for the Pacers, have they peaked?
I would leave the Pacers together for one more year.
One more year. Why?
Give Paul George the time. You know, he showed flashes of being able to step up. What was that? Game 5, he stepped up. You're not gonna say they lose because of him.
No.
So you know, I give him one more year to blossom. Stevenson is still young. You know, still a little bit immature.
Contract situation. What are you doing with that?
I'm keeping him. You know, a lot of teams are scared off of him right now. So definitely, probably gonna get him at least like $2 million cheaper.
I'm predicting they get rid of George Hill. If they don't give him a J.R. Smith type contract, they get rid of George Hill and they give him maybe an $8 million a year contract. That's what I'm predicting.
If there's one change that might need to happen, besides adding more shooters, you know, Evan Turner's gone probably.
More than likely.
Yeah, I don't know what his
he wasn't
contract
even incorporated
situation is.
into the offense.
Yeah, he's too much of a one-on-one player. What I've seen on the page, he plays like he thinks he's a whole lot better than what he is. So that's the vibe I got from him. But admittedly, I didn't watch him too much.
Well, he didn't play enough for you too much.
Right.
Let's keep it real here.
I put some more shooters, or I trade George Hill.
So Ronnie, are you surprised that Vogel, gets to keep his job?
No, because when Vogel took over, you didn't know which direction the Pacers were going. They been on the rise. Kind of right now they're at a plateau, evening out a little bit, but they still have another level that if everything being equal that they could reach.
As far as the Vogel Paul George dynamic, Paul George really looks up to this guy.
Yeah, I keep it. Frank Vogel has proved himself. He knows what he needs to work on. You always have to give a person when they mess up or they don't do as good of a job, especially in this league. It's hard to do it from day to day to make adjustments, change your personality.
Especially when you're playing against champs.
Right. So he has a whole off season to look back and see where he messed up at, where Paul George messed up at. You want Phil and Mike, Phil and Kobe, Popovich and Duncan, Eric Spoelstra and Dwayne Wade and LeBron. You need a good relationship, so let those two grow together.
Okay.
Give it one more year
right.
and see what happens.
All right, so I like the Vogel Paul George dynamic. The Vogel Lance Stevenson dynamic. That's a tough one. He needs to mature a little. Vogel tried to use him too much as a scapegoat. However, he does need to tone it down. He needs to get back to playing his caliber of basketball. He led the league in triple doubles. Get back to that, Lance. And Frank Vogel, I'm sorry, you can't use one player as the reason you lose the game. Ronnie, he said we should not tug on Superman's cape. You have a growing superstar in this league. You have a roster that for 3 years now, 3 years, you've been saying we're going to knock off the champions. We're going to knock off the champions. Why all of a sudden you want to get passive?
He believed he had zero chance that they were going to win.
You think so?
Yeah, he didn't believe it. He knew they weren't going to win. Just by some of the quotes that he said, Miami has that championship level that we don't have. Tugging on Superman's cape. We're playing against Michael Jordan and the Bulls. Stuff like that. Basically saying that we wanted to give him a good fight, but
we were supposed to lose. Yeah. Wow, great point, my man.
So, because he brought them so far, even besides this past season where he basically failed the second half of the season as a coach.
Yeah, for sure.
If you want to really be honest about it, I still give him another year to learn from it.
Well, because these guys
He's
were
a young
top
coach.
tier. All of us have seen breakdowns like this in a team mentality and whatnot. However, they were number one in the Eastern Conference.
I don't agree with that.
They did what they were supposed to do.
Right, but I've seen collapses. What about when San Antonio was number one and they got bounced in the first round? Or it happened in Dallas, bounced in the first round?
Yeah, but no one saw that coming.
Which makes it even worse.
At the end of the season with Indiana, no one saw Indiana even get into the conference finals.
I did.
The way they were playing in the first and the second round?
Like we said before, you play to the level of your competition.
Yeah, okay.
Atlanta was a bad matchup for them. Yeah. Hibbert is not what everybody wants him to be. They gave him the all-star position, and let's be real, like,
who else was gonna get it?
Yeah, like, he's not an all-star player. Yeah. He's an all-star by default.
Yeah.
So, David West, I was kind of disappointed in. Really, a lot of people who should be getting blame are not getting blame in the Pacers organization.
Stevenson is the scapegoat,
right? Frank Vogel, David West, and George Hill are my three biggest.
Look, this is my point. As simple, direct. When you're the captain of the ship, you go down with the ship. Ship is going down, you go down with the ship. You don't give excuses as to why other people should go down with you. And that's what Frank Vogel did. Come on, man. Realistically. I mean, how much of a blame are you giving Lance Stevenson? Really?
Right. He's what? He was supposed to be your third, fourth best player?
Come on. And he really is their second.
Really. Like, they go as he goes, but realistically, coming into the season, you thought he was going to be your third best, fourth best player.
Exactly. And that's why I'm saying, Vogel, I don't like what you did. You really need to assess yourself as a coach, as a leader of a basketball team, and go about next year differently. If you're not going to treat Lance as my Scottie Pippen to my Scottie Pippen, that's Lance and Paul George's dynamic, right. Both Scotties. If you're not going to treat him as he needs to be and stop looking at everyone else as your second best player on the team, it's not going to work. You might as well let Stevenson go right now. It's not going to work.
I'll give you one more year, Frank Vogel. One more year. Prove yourself. Come back. Be tougher. They look at you like an uncle. They respect you. They like you. But you can't command them.
Okay.
So you have to change that a little bit.
So we touched on some key coaching dynamics between Vogel and his players. I want to get your opinion on who's more important for winning, the coach or the player.
You gotta go with the player.
Mm-hmm.
Never in history has probably the only time that you haven't had a superstar and they win championships. Probably that Detroit Pistons team.
Oh wow, I was thinking the same thing.
There you could say, but at the end of the day, they had a lot of integral pieces. They had a lot of big pieces there that were good players, not superstars.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. But Parker or Pop, who's more important to their team as far as coach versus the player?
Of course, Pop. Only because Pop's been doing it before Parker. Parker's had a little bit of an injury history these last couple of years.
Especially
and the Spurs keep winning. So it's definitely Pop. But that's not to take away from Tony Parker, though. We got to remember, Tony Parker is effectively not in his prime anymore. He's not in his prime. The Spurs have a team with nobody in their prime. Nobody on the Spurs is in their prime. That's an important player. You know what I'm saying? You could be in your prime as a bench player, but nobody really cares.
All right. Well, Tony Parker is 32 years old right now. So
32.
I guess you're right. I guess you're right.
So Popovich is definitely the orchestrator, the engine, the mind. Probably the most important piece.
All right. Parker does a lot, but as we're seeing right now, game 6 with Tony Parker, they were down 7 points going into the half. Tony Parker didn't play the entire second half, and guess what? They end up winning through overtime.
That's the dynamic between Popovich and his players.
All right, guys. So this is what we want you to do. Leave your comments. Let us know how you feel about this topic, player versus coach. I know we only touched on basically the Indiana player-coach dynamics and also the Spurs coach dynamics. But what do you think is more important for the team, a good player or a good coach? All right, so just leave your comments below on our YouTube page. For our podcasters, we're going to be having a blog coming up sometime in the near future. So you'll be able to leave your comments there as well and whatnot. But, Ronnie, you got to also remember Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach, Jerry Sloan.
Those are
list goes on
Rick
and
Carlisle.
on and on.
Rick Carlisle, great
on
coach.
And on
Popovich.
But we can always say for those great coaches. They had great players.
Yeah.
I'm not sure we can always say great coaches win without great players. I've never heard of a case like that.
Larry Brown.
All right. This is what I want to do now. Since we're talking about the Spurs dynamic, and we touched on the Heat versus Indy, we looked back on that little dynamic. What I want to do is I want to look back on the Spurs versus Thunder and get your opinion on this. Just follow me right here. The Spurs Thunder series, I felt personally, resembled the Spurs Miami series. And the reason I felt this way, there are two elite A+ level talents on both teams. Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, you may be an A-, a B+. Ibaka, you may be an A-, a B+. But I say that, those two elite level players going up against a complete team. If you don't think that the Spurs Thunder series looked a lot like the Spurs Miami series, why not?
Well, I understand what you're saying, and I see that dynamic. But OKC is not a complete team.
No.
Miami is.
Wow. Okay.
Well, if OKC is not a complete team, what's their problem systematically?
Systematically is that they do not have a point guard. The reason they don't have a point guard is the coach.
There we go.
You have Derek Fisher, Reggie Jackson, and Russell Westbrook. None of them are a traditional point guard. Derek Fisher's too old. You know, he's a spot-up shooter, a veteran, set some picks.
He can't initiate the offense.
He's never been able to initiate the offense.
No.
Never had that, responsibility either with the Lakers. Reggie Jackson, stepped up big while Westbrook was out, and quietly that may be when the Thunder were at their best because it was clear who the guy was.
All right, so I'm blaming this one on the player, Kevin Durant. There is no way you can be the MVP of the league and consistently be okay with screaming for the ball and not getting it.
Yeah, that's hard.
And we're not just talking about points, because we know you can get 30 with your eyes closed. What was the streak he had? 40-something past Jordan for, whatever 30-point games or whatever like that.
Over 25.
Yeah, or games over 25. We know that's what you can do. But the thing is, I don't believe, and even though his numbers say he gets it efficiently, shooting 50+%, I don't believe he's doing it effectively.
There's a difference between being able to score and impacting the game with your scoring. How many times has Kevin Durant had 30? Like almost every game. That's what he averages. Like he gets you 30, but a lot of times those are not impactful points. There are times that he goes on a great streak, and don't get me wrong, he is the second best player in the league right now. That's playing. Kobe didn't play. Just to put that out there. But, he'll hit jumper after jumper, and he hits a lot of big shots in the fourth quarter. I have to give him that. I will say he's clutch. But there's a system of getting the ball in the mid post, around the free throw line, at the elbows, surveying the floor, seeing another defender coming at you, and maybe not getting the assist, but getting the hockey assist.
It's because of Scotty Brooks.
Right.
You're not placing him in the proper positions to impact the game in multiple ways apart from scoring. Some of these things that he had to go through, and man, this guy quit at sometimes because he couldn't get the ball. He could not get the ball.
That's perfect. He quit sometimes. He gave up.
It feels like he's kind of going through that LeBron James situation. You know how Brown breaks down mentally? He used to break down time after time after time. Russell Westbrook taking those 3 free throws to get the to win the game. Cameras look back on Kevin Durant kneeling down, hand over his head, back turned, not even watching the free throws. I've never seen something like this. He quit time after time.
Tony Allen made Kevin Durant look like it was like a father playing against a son. the son has way more talent. Is faster. It is quicker. Knows how to play the game. Everybody talks about the son, but the father knows your weakness and exploits it time and time again, and you can't do nothing about it. Till you get frustrated, you're better than your father, but for some reason you can't beat him. That's what I got from watching Tony Allen guard Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant was scared to dribble the ball.
Yeah, and then, it gets to the point where, talent inevitably wins moving forward. So now that we've got all that out the way, the next segment that we're going to touch on now is our Ronnie Rent segment. This is a segment that Ronnie picks his own individual topic that he wants to discuss and just basically throws a Kanye West legendary type rant. So this week's topic, Ronnie, superstars, because everybody's been talking about superstars. Right. Ronnie has another criteria for defining superstars. Ronnie?
Commercially. Let's listen up, players. A lot of you are now superstars on or off the court. Sorry to say it. Like people like Melo. I wanna speak on you, Melo. I'm sorry. I like you, Melo. The smile on your face. You look like you enjoy playing basketball. Great scorer. But you haven't pushed your team. And obviously you're not pushing the people over there at Nike either. You gotta get off the Jordan brand.
For real, Carmelo.
You gotta get off of that. That's not working. I don't know. Like probably I've seen like one person rock some Melos. Like it's tough. It's tough out there. I understand sneaker game is not what it used to be.
Okay.
But Kobe, Durant, and LeBron are pushing through right now in the sneaker game. Chris Paul, them sneakers, what are them, checkered sneakers?
Come on, my friend.
How you gonna have your shoes named after another imaginary person?
Come on, Cliff. You do got to do better with that. But as far as commercially, Chris Paul is a superstar, a modern-day superstar. What you're saying is, compared to the old superstars and the old superstar commercials, a la Penny, Michael Jordan with Michael Jackson, Michael Jordan with Spike Lee, there's no epic commercials right now to say I'm the superstar, this is my commercial, this is my era, I'm the Michael Jordan.
Back in the day you had commercials that got you excited. You don't have that no more. And they focused a lot on basketball back in the day. Like the commercials were actually of them doing basketball things, like Michael Jordan and Michael Jackson.
Yeah, they were playing basketball.
You had Michael Jordan playing basketball and Michael Jackson dancing. Know that the two best doing what they do best.
Okay.
You had Lil Penny on course playing basketball, but it had the Lil Penny right there making the commercial exciting and fun. You had Shaq with his monster dunk commercials. You even had superstars like not even superstars. You had players like Larry Johnson, Grandmama playing basketball. That took him on a couple TV shows.
Oh my God!
Where are your TV shows, people? I don't even see those anymore.
How can you be true superstars? Apart from us NBA hardcore fans, who knows you?
You know their best commercials now are the NBA Reading Cares commercials. Those are the best. Like,
it's important. But come on, man.
Please.
Come on. Come on, players. You really got to step it up with some of these commercials you've been pushing out there lately.
Even the celebrations are not as good.
No, not
and that has to do a lot with the NBA's, whoever's up top, the NBA offices
rules,
and all
regulations,
those
and all that stuff.
I understand that. But that level of excitement, it's like, once the game is over nowadays, the game is over.
I want to get into our media takeouts moment. The media takeouts is where we basically go over some of the things that we've seen in the media, have heard in the media that either we agree with or we disagree with. So one thing the subject that we've chosen today is some of the craziest moments in the NBA, a la Lance Stevenson and LeBron, how they've been going at it. I don't know how to call this, erotically blowing in LeBron James's ear. What do you think about that? And what are some of the craziest NBA moments that you've seen so far?
Well, first and foremost, Lance Stevenson doing what he did not require that much attention. Not at all. James laughed about it right there and then. He probably felt like, this guy. Like, like, what are you doing? Like, he barely cared about it. Like, so I don't know why we care about it. And compared to other stuff that's been done in the league.
Like
Dennis Rodman. All his antics from on and off the court. The fights that they used to have, or the fouls that they used to have, Sean Kemp, when he dunked on somebody, the show that was put on after that.
Standing over. You remember when he dunked, I can't remember who it was, but he came through the lane and dunked on him so hard, the man turned around and gave him 5. It was Gatlin. Gave him 5 after? My God.
Gatlin, the guy with the headband, because he had a scar on his head. Chris Gatlin, I think his name was. Dunked on him, and he had to give it up. That's what we're missing. So Lance Stevenson blowing it was a funny, cool moment. But that's how far the league has come where that is media attention.
So thinking about the Lance LeBron situation made me actually remember that Matt Barnes. I know you know what I'm talking about. That Matt Barnes situation where Matt Barnes faked to throw the ball in Kobe Bryant's face. Ronnie, Kobe didn't even do so much as blink. It's a natural human reaction, man.
Like, I'm speechless. I'm probably just like Kobe right now. All I could do is just stare at it. Like, I don't know. How did he not even blink? Just continue chewing his gum like nothing happened.
You remember when Chris Rock was trying to talk to Kobe during one of the finals? I think it was either the rematch versus the Celtics or the first series versus the Celtics.
Yeah, one of those.
Kobe was so in the moment. Chris Rock is making jokes. The chair right next to him. And Kobe, it's like the funniest man in the world, and Kobe doesn't even know he's there. He don't even know he's talking. That's the mindset that you players need nowadays. It's not about having friends. It's not even about being friends with your teammate. It's about leading by example. Dude, some of the other moments, how could we ever forget the Spike moments? And all the great stuff that Spike has influenced, either directly or indirectly.
Contributed to the Knicks' demise. That's what Spike
We're
has
sorry,
done.
Knicks fans. From the Reggie Miller performance to the Kobe Bryant performance right after him and Spike recorded Kobe Doing Work. If you haven't watched it, it is called Kobe Doing Work, directed by Spike Lee. You should see it that same night before they directed the video. Kobe went off for 61.
In front of Spike. So you didn't have to hear Spike's mouth while they were recording it.
Exactly. And he even told Spike after the game. 2 games later, because Kobe did that, because of Spike, you had LeBron James come and nearly get a triple-double.
So with that being said, who do you have for this year's finals?
That's tough. That's tough. I really don't know. I need to see San Antonio's game plan because they're not winning with the same game plan that they had last year. LeBron and D-Wade know if you give them an open shot now, they're going to take it.
Especially against this team.
Right, because they know that's your game plan. So it's not going to take them a couple games to figure that out again. If San Antonio does a different game plan, I think they could win. I would actually put... I would put Kawhi Leonard on Wade. Eliminate Wade. Because Kawhi Leonard could defend Wade now.
Yeah, for sure.
Wade don't have that too much athletic.
I think that's what you saw in the OKC series as well. They took Kawhi off of Kevin Durant and said, we're going to do our best to at least stop Russell Westbrook. But honestly, stopping Russell Westbrook for that series is more important than stopping Kevin Durant. In this series, stopping Dwayne only important in this series because LeBron's going to do it regardless. And you might as well take out, or at least try to take out, the one player that you know you can actually take out and may have a big impact on the series.
Right. And with most other teams, you're like, LeBron has enough to get it done by himself. You don't feel that way.
Spurs.
Yeah, you don't feel that way against the Spurs. So I put Kawhi Leonard on D Wade. I would put you put Danny Green on, and low key, Danny Green is okay defender. He gives it a lot of heart.
He does.
He don't have the physical.
He can't guard Wade.
Yeah, he doesn't have the physical abilities to be a stop defender. He's not that strong. He's not that quick. But he gives the effort, and Popovich has instilled that you gotta play defense. So I put him on LeBron, and depending on how off LeBron is going, because he's gonna go off regardless.
But they play team defense.
Yeah.
So I don't really see LeBron going for over like 32 points in any single game in this series.
Right. So that's why I put Danny Green on him to start.
Who do you have?
As you can see, I'm trying to figure out a way for the Spurs to win, but I got Miami. I got Miami, man. I don't know if you're going to beat LeBron James
not
right now.
Not how he's playing. Well, great first show, my guy. Great show.
Great show.
All right. RSVP Sports. What we say today
matters tomorrow.
We said it first, guys. LeBron James and the Miami Heat in 6.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to our first ever episode of RSVP. Don't forget to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to RSVP for next week's show. For Ronnie Jean, I'm Jonah Francis. See you next week.